good mystery. Lovejoy, a true original, Monday on A&E.
Okay, question. Beverly Hills, the most beautiful women in the world, plastic surgery. What do these three things have in common? Me in less than a week.
Ben Stone was a city doctor with big city plans. But he never planned on the town of Grady.
I'm just on my way to Beverly Hills, plastic surgery. Not that you need any.
Do doctors know more about sex than normal people?
My foot feels so good, I brought you this pig.
I'm in the Twilight Zone.
Michael J. Fox is Doc Hollywood.
This is CNN.
9 days of walking picket lines comes to an end for auto workers in Ohio. An overwhelming yes vote will send 43,000 GM workers back to their jobs.
In Homestead, Florida, volunteer carpenters fan out, hammers and supplies in hand, while volunteer mental health experts try to ease the pain of rebuilding.
From CNN, this is The World Today, with David French in Washington and Cathy Marshall at CNN Center in Atlanta.
Hello, Andrea Arsenault has the night off. Our top story, a strike that closed 9 General Motors assembly plants for 9 days is over. Striking members of United Auto Workers Local in Lordstown, Ohio, have voted overwhelmingly in favor of a settlement reached early today. The walkout led to closing other GM plants that depend on the Lordstown plant for parts. The 2,400 workers walked off their jobs August 27th over various issues, including GM's plans to close another plant.
12 days after Hurricane Andrew raged through South Florida, much of the region remains in ruins. But the rebuilding phase is beginning to take shape. Residents are using hammers and nails to reverse what Andrew's 140-mile-an-hour winds did to their homes. And from the federal government today, announcement of an emergency transportation service for South Dade County. Under the provision, 350 minibuses and vans will provide transit service for at least 6 months. Religious leaders from many denominations, meanwhile, took a message of faith to Homestead, one of the hardest hit areas in Florida. The Reverend Jesse Jackson spoke of new beginnings. There was a message from Pope Paul II, and the Reverend Billy Graham applauded how the community is pulling together.
And I've heard so many stories here where the trees are down and people are seeing their neighbors for the first time. And they're talking to their neighbors, no matter what color skin, what language they speak. There's a new neighborness among us. And that's what our prayer is, that out of the ashes of Hurricane Andrew, that there will be a greater Miami and a greater Florida, and it could touch America and the world.
The government, meanwhile, is having some difficulty setting up trailers for use as temporary housing. More than 200 trailers now are sitting in Florida uninhabited. Officials in Dade County admit the placement process has been slow, but says finding sites with working power and water hookups can take time.
CNN's John Holloman has been following the story in South Florida for almost 2 weeks now, and he's standing by now with more. John?
Cathy, I'll tell you, as you cover this story, you learn, the great things about other people. 10 seconds before you said my name, our camera battery died. We were able to replace it in a big hurry because our people are all working together here. I want you to meet somebody that we've introduced you to in the past. Elsa Moreno was here a week ago in the shelter. Elsa, you remember the first time we met, you had, you were terribly bruised because you'd chased some looters out of your store. You were hurt. You've gotten medical care here. And after we told your story on CNN, a lot of people have responded. You have a lot here from the people of Homestead and the people of the United States. Just tell me about this.
Well, first of all, I'm very proud of this newspaper. I have the signature of Mrs. Bush, Jeb Bush, George Bush, Connie Mack, Charles Lawton, Marilyn Quayle, and Elizabeth Dole.
A lot of famous people have been here inside your paper after they saw you on TV.
The only one I meet in this side is Governor Clinton, which I wish I would get.
Yeah, well, maybe he'll come back. And then you got some mail, too, as well.
That's right? A mail from the first nurse that treated me here, and she was very kind to me. As you can see, she said, we saw you in CNN. And then her little daughter sent me a beautiful letter. Look at this here with a picture. because I gave her this for her little girl. I gave her a Cleopatra wig.
Yes, yes.
Because I sell and I rent costumes.
Oh, so we've got about 15 seconds left. Let me ask you this. You're going to have to move out of the shelter and into one of the tent cities here. How are you feeling about that?
I'm very afraid. Although they're telling me that the city is very good, I'm very afraid. I don't know how I'm going to manage.
Yeah, I imagine a situation like this leads to personal stress for you, as it does for many people here. My colleague Brian Jenkins has been working today talking to experts to try to find out how people in the Homestead area in the wake of the hurricane are learning to cope with stress.
Psychiatric nurse Patricia Clunn assigned herself a mission after Hurricane Andrew tore across Dade County to look out for mothers.
Hey, Mom.
And their children.
Hey, babe. I've been telling the mothers to just calm themselves before they pick up their babies, because, you know, this anxiety that they feel is so easily transmitted to the children. Everyone, no matter who you see, all ages, react to a catastrophic event like this in the same way. Everyone has a lack of trust, and they are suspicious of people.
That's why Clunn is traipsing among splintered homes, pleading with parents to take their kids to cleaner, safer surroundings.
Would you leave if you could? Would you go to a tent?
I would leave if I could.
You would? Well,
I'm afraid to stay
where are we?
At the makeshift clinic Clunn helped set up, survivors can vent the terror they've kept bottled up for days.
We was from the bathroom to the closet. I've never prayed so hard. Unbelievable.
Almost 2 weeks after the storm, Angie Rivera says her 82-year-old grandmother still cries and shakes when the sun goes down, and her 3-year-old son starts clinging once the sun comes up.
All day long, he doesn't leave me alone. Anything he does, I have to do with him. If he has to go to the bathroom, if he has to go to the kitchen, he wants me to hold his hand and take him.
What people are undergoing here is a very sane and natural reaction to a very insane and unnatural experience.
Army psychiatrist Steve Holzenbeck was sent in to help the troops comfort civilians.
Every soldier out here on every block has been given the message that to get out there and get your arms around people, not necessarily physically, though that too if it's indicated, but to let people know that the American people care.
Psychiatrists say it's probably too early yet to see an outbreak of post-traumatic stress syndrome, that many hurricane survivors are still in a state of shock. But as the days go by, they say, stress and frustration will spark more outrage and violence. In Homestead, one of the towns hardest hit, there have actually been fewer reports this past week than normal of violence in the home or on the streets.
We really aren't sure what to attribute that to, and we feel lucky about it. I hope that it's not happening and we're just not finding it.
Patricia Clunn and her fellow nurses are determined to find as many desperate families as they can, helping head off ailments and emotional wounds that could leave children here scarred for life. Brian Jenkins, CNN, Perrine, Florida.
And here inside the emergency shelter in Homestead, Florida, you can see over my shoulder, most of the beds are empty now. Most of the people who have been here for the past couple of weeks are moving out either to tent cities, as Elsa is, or to another shelter that they say is much better and more air-conditioned, about 40 miles from this neighborhood. John Holloman, CNN Live in Homestead, Florida.
Thanks, John. President Bush says Louisiana will get the same federal assistance that he promised Florida for hurricane damage. This means the federal government will pay 100% of eligible costs. That includes temporary housing, debris removal, and disaster unemployment. Usually, the federal government pays 75% of such costs. The White House says overall damage to Louisiana is about $100 million. In the Philippines, thousands of villagers around Mount Pinatubo have fled their homes. Tons of mud and volcanic debris from last year's eruption has been washed down the mountainside by 3 weeks of heavy rain. At least 50 people have died in the past 2 weeks. Disaster officials say more than 6,000 people have sought shelter inside hangars at the abandoned Clark Air Base. And they say avalanches of mud and debris have destroyed nearly 1,400 homes.
On the campaign trail today, President Bush had some harsh words for Democrat Bill Clinton. The Clinton campaign was quick to respond to the Bush attack. We'll have details coming up. Also ahead, former world chess champion Bobby Fischer threatened to punish the media today before Game 3 of a $5 million match in Yugoslavia. We'll tell you why Fischer was angry.
Napoleon, what was your hand in the jacket? People are talking.
Josephine, my briefs are killing me.
Oh, I have just the thing.
Fruit of the loom. Hey, c'est magnifique, eh?
For classic comfort, pick Fruit of the Loom briefs.
To get rid of her gray, my wife can spend 40 minutes. But I discovered the 5-minute hair coloring.
The revolutionary discovery called Just for Men from the leader in men's hair coloring. Simply apply Just for Men and in 5 minutes shampoo out.
Gray is blended away. The look of my natural color is back in 5 minutes. That was me, and it won't fade or wash out.
My hair takes forever, but you look great in just 5 minutes.
The look of your natural color in just 5 minutes with Just for Men.
If you see just one, hundreds more are in your walls. But cockroaches can't hide from the exterminator, the Orkin Man. The exterminator seeks out roaches with the awesome power of his advanced pest control technology. He attacks the crevices where roaches try to hide. But the exterminator stops them dead, guaranteed. The exterminator, the Orkin Man. One call destroys them all.
After examining, testing, analyzing, it's a fact. You can buy new Preparation H hydrocortisone cream with the maximum strength available without a prescription. It has a level of medicine that was prescribed by doctors for years. New Preparation H hydrocortisone cream. It's new, it's maximum strength, and it effectively relieves problem itch. New Preparation H hydrocortisone cream. Prescription strength without a prescription.
A family blinded by passion.
I'm not going to have these letters made public.
Fighting to stay together. Frederick Forrest, Brad Davis, and Gene Stapleton. Horton Foote's The Habitation of Dragons, a TNT Screenworks presentation. Tuesday at 8 Eastern on TNT.
Both presidential candidates have full campaign schedules this weekend, and Mr. Bush is throwing himself into the task of winning back the support that once made him appear unbeatable in the polls. CNN's Jill Doherty reports.
At an Oktoberfest celebration in Paynesville, Ohio, George Bush had a pancake and bratwurst breakfast, kicking off a Labor Day weekend campaign swing through 6 battleground states, trying to win back so-called Reagan Democrats, now threatening to defect to Bill Clinton.
We're going after Governor Clinton, and we're going to do him in. You watch.
Outside, a barbed attack on Clinton. Inside, an olive branch to Democratic voters.
And I salute not only the Republicans that are here, but I know there are many, many Democrats with us, and I'm very proud and pleased about that.
Here in Paynesville, Bush did not deliver his standard broad-based attack on Clinton. Instead, he focused on what he called 2 fundamentally different views of health care, painting a bleak picture of what would happen under Clinton's plan to force businesses to provide or pay for health care.
Put government in control, let government fix the prices, let government ration the kind of care that people get and how much what.
And following a new tack in his campaign, he sharpened the focus on Clinton's record in Arkansas.
After having Governor Clinton for 12 years, 1 in 4 folks in Arkansas don't even have health insurance. And Bill Clinton has promised he'll do for America what he's done for Arkansas. And my question is, why would we let him?
Later, Bush claimed Clinton had the worst environmental record in the world. In Asheville, North Carolina, the courting of Democrats continued as George and Barbara Bush visited the house of Roy and Deantha Harris. Roy Harris is an engineer.
The registered Democrat is interested in a local paper this morning. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Very hospitable one at that.
Later at a North Carolina Apple Festival in Hendersonville, Bush contrasted what he called clear differences between himself and Clinton. And after a week of dispensing federal money for hurricane victims, farmers, and arms contractors, Bush defended himself against charges of pandering.
Governor Clinton was outraged. He accused me of pandering. Now, that's the same guy that Paul Tsongas called the Pander Bear. You remember that in the primary. He's now acting like Goldilocks, saying somebody's been sleeping in my bed.
Labor Day is the traditional start of the fall campaign, but this time George Bush already finds himself deep in the middle of his campaign, fighting for every vote. Jill Doherty, CNN, Hendersonville, North Carolina.
From Bill Clinton's corner, the charge that without resuscitation, the nation's health care system has a dim prognosis. Just before heading to South Carolina for a Labor Day weekend rally, Clinton said rising health care costs will bring the economy to a grinding halt unless something is done. Clinton says under his plan, businesses and employees will see lower health care costs. And under Bush, more dollars will be poured into an already broken system, forcing costs even higher. CNN is planning to carry Labor Day speeches by both candidates. George Bush is scheduled to speak at 11 a.m. Eastern from Waukesha, Wisconsin. Bill Clinton is scheduled to speak at noon Eastern in Independence, Missouri.
Temperamental chess master Bobby Fischer threatened to bar reporters from his game with Boris Spassky today unless they called the event the World Chess Championship. The International Chess Federation does not recognize the match as such. Fischer later gave up his demand, and reporters did watch as he and Spassky played to a draw. That leaves Fischer ahead 1-0 in the match being played on an island off the coast of the new Yugoslav Federation. The fourth game is scheduled for tomorrow. For a look at more active sports, here's Bob Lorenz. Bob.
Certainly a big day of college football as it really kicks off. The University of Louisville has won a large number of fans over the past few seasons as it's become a national powerhouse. But Ohio State refused to give in to the conversion. In fact, it was exactly that kept the Buckeyes' edge over the Cardinals today in their season opener. We'll show you what we met with the success coming in the form of very goofy haircuts, I guess, for the Cardinals. 3-0 Buckeyes in the second, and they try and get it working, and they do. 50-yard reverse to Joey Galloway. And check this, just a couple of hands on his jersey, and that's about it. All the way for the touchdown as the Buckeyes assumed a 10-0 lead. But a bad sign for them was when Robert Smith went out in the early third quarter with a cracked rib. All right, they took a 1-point lead late in the game. The Cardinal going for 2 and the win, but Jeff Brum's pass just a little too far out of the reach of Ralph Dawkins. So they're still down by 1. You got to go for the onside kick with a few ticks left, and it worked beautifully. Ray Buchanan's got it. Only problem was he picked it up in the 10-yard zone. Refs called it back. Ohio State ran out the clock and won it 20-19. Now to the Bama-Vanderbilt game where David Palmer, the sophomore receiving star, was held out of the game by Gene Stallings for a drunk driving incident during the offseason. That's what you get. And this is what you get for punter David Lawrence for Vandy. The fake punt goes out to the left side. Robert Davis is there for a 41-yard gain. However, the Commodores were plagued by turnovers on their first 4 possessions. Let's go late fourth, tied up 19-8. Vandy quarterback Marcus Wilson trying to get something going, but he's picked off by Michael Rogers. And look at this. The quarterback gets a double hit. He not only gets picked off, he gets picked off again as he gets nailed trying to tackle, and Bama wins it 25-8. A couple other games ongoing, and they're big ones. Notre Dame only led 14-7 over Northwestern at the half, but the Irish scored 2 third-quarter touchdowns and now lead it by 21. And Texas A&M was only leading by 3 at the end of 3, but they have scored again, start of the fourth, as they lead LSU by 10. Well, time for a quick break, but we'll have the Saturday afternoon baseball action for you next, so stay with us.
When a muffler goes, some people look for a cheap replacement. They think it costs less. Fact is, they can get a quality Midas muffler starting at $24.95. Fact is, a guaranteed economizer muffler starting at $24.95. Fact is, installed by experts starting at $24.95. So when somebody says they have a cheaper muffler than Midas, they're right. When they say they're better, fact is, they're wrong. Don't believe anybody ever beats Midas.
It may surprise you to learn who, over 30 years ago, was the first car maker to build cars with seat belts, to make safety glass standard, the first U.S. car maker to offer anti-lock brakes, and who today offers more models with dual airbags than any other manufacturer. That company is Ford Motor Company.
We're committed to making safety innovation an important part of quality.
Ford Motor Company. Quality is job one. It's working. It's working.
Hot breakfast idea. Smucker's Peach Preserves on cereal. Specially good because jams are less than 20 calories and naturally fat-free. A real man's breakfast. With a name like Smucker's, it has to be good.
The critics are calling Enchanted April the most exquisite feel-good movie of the year.
It sounds like heaven.
2 thumbs up. Warm, funny, and romantic. One of the best films of the year. Enchanted April, rated PG. Now playing.
When important people have something to say, they say it on CNN.
For the fatheads at General Motors.
Get in touch with the people shaping the news. Watch Newsmaker Sunday with Frank Sesno. Sundays on CNN.
Welcome back to baseball now. The past 2 days, the Blue Jays have been like a cat that stalks its prey and then pounces on it for the kill.